Welcome to Podnutz Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 147. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. Podnutz Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by Reclaim Me Pro, the all-in-one highly configurable data recovery software. For a free 14-day trial, go to reclaimme-pro.com. Let me introduce you guys to the awesome panel we have today. We have Martin Obando from Obando Computing. How you doing, Martin?
I'm doing real good.
You look really good.
It's the beard.
You look awesome in that beard.
Thanks. I try on different beards every day just to see which one looks best on me, and this one actually fit. This matches my shoes.
Awesome. Which, the brown or the gray part?
They're speckled.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, great.
So.
Also joining us today, we have John Dubinsky from the Maven Group. How you doing, John?
Better than I deserve, Jeff.
Awesome. Glad
to be around with Bando.
I should have taken that one. Better than I deserve. Let me write that one down. My wife will ask me that later on. How you doing? Better than I deserve.
Better than I
gotta get my gray highlights going with that little gray in his beard. He looks much more distinguished than I am.
He looks like a very smart man, which we all know he is.
Without a doubt.
Anyways, FYI, this is for the Podnutz community. Podnutz will be doing a website migration on October 5th. And what that will mean for you guys is the feeds will they will reset. So you'll just have to, if you're downloading like every single episode of these shows, which I don't think most people are, but just in case, just so you know that you might get some re-downloaded shows again once that feed is reset on October 5th. So just be aware of that. But that's why, and there's really no way, unless we had millions of dollars, that we could avoid this. So it's what's going to happen October 5th. But you guys will definitely like the website and the updates and everything that Door is doing to the Podnutz website with everything that's going on. So it'll be pretty cool. All right, Mr. Martin Obando, what have you been up to in your business?
Oh man, what haven't I done in my business? Well, school started, so we're 3 weeks in here, and that's been keeping me very, very busy. It was pretty quiet, and all of a sudden school hit, and the world kind of fell apart. So that's been great. It's been great to deploy a one-to-one Chromebooks at one of my schools. They decided to do that, and they were like, well, we're not sure we're gonna get the Chromebooks put out in time. And I had my son and my daughter come in and help me, and we busted the Chromebooks out, got them all ready to go, and within a week. So this just went to the 8th graders, and within a week, the rest of the parents for the 6th and 7th graders were saying, "Can we do this Chromebooks?" And so now the school's probably going to go one-to-one with 6th, 7th, and 8th by right after Christmas break.
Hey, Bart, what did they switch from, or is this their first deployment of a one-to-one?
First deployment. So fifth grade had one-to-one. They have laptops in the classroom, Windows laptops, and then there's a Chromebook cart that kind of got transferred in. So the students had been using Chromebooks last year, but it was just kind of a class set, and the cart would move from classroom to classroom as needed. This year they decided to go one-to-one. They hooked up with a publishing company, so now some of the textbooks are in the Chromebooks, and some of them are not. And so that worked out really well. And then came the talk of it was probably the second night I got a call from staff saying, parents are wondering how come when the kids go home they can view websites that we don't want them to do. Aren't you blocking that? So, okay. Luckily we had a technology night come in. I wasn't planning on speaking, and because I've never been involved in the technology night, but they said, well, why don't you come in? So I did about a 20-minute presentation on OpenDNS, and I think it went over really well. So there's only so much you can control as a Chromebook. As a Chromebook administrator in the Chromebook store, I know I'm going way off, but you can control the Chromebook apps and a little bit of the Chromebook, like proxy, the homepage, the start screen, things like that. But I cannot content filter a student's network at home. That's right. Where that's where there's a little bit of parenting that comes involved. So we were able to talk with the parents and kind of lead them towards OpenDNS.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, OpenDNS, I've been using that for many, many years, and I've got kids of all ages on my network. Kids that come in, it doesn't matter. I give them, all access to the network, and I've never had any problems, using OpenDNS.
Yeah, but so that's school started. Signed 2 new contracts for some new businesses coming up this last week. Man, it's just been. Within the last 3 months, I have grown and grown and grown and grown. So it's time. I switched over to a VoIP system. I ordered that VoIP system last week. I'll be getting the new phones this week. I went with Intermedia. Okay. The reason is that, and I know Jeff, you had talked about Grasshopper.
Yes.
You talked a lot about that, and I looked into that. The one thing that I wanted, the reason I didn't go with Grasshopper is Grasshopper is call forwarding. So you still have your phone, but Grasshopper gives you a phone number to call towards you. It's not a PBX system, right?
Correct. Yes.
I wanted to be able to have a phone because that way I can give the phone to an employee and they can take the phone, or maybe I want to get another phone later on and go that route. The other thing is that my cell phone has become, that's kind of what's on my calling card. My business card is my personal cell phone. It's getting to the point now where my clients are finding it more comfortable to text me rather than email me, and I don't check all my texts all the time, or it doesn't sit in the queue. And so somebody will say, hey, my computer's broken, can you come fix it? And then next thing I know, I haven't forgotten all about that because they text me. So my phone number will go now to I'm going to let go of my phone number through AT&T. It's going to go to my primary phone, and then I'm going to get a new personal cell phone number that's going to be very selectively given out. That way people can't text me anymore because I want them to email me or open a ticket.
That makes that number right now, or
what? My personal cell number?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, it's what do I do with that card? I have your card around here somewhere.
Oh, easy.
No, I don't even know it yet because it's not released yet. So, yeah, there's changes because as I'm growing, I need to, things that I know now, I wish that I knew then, like investing in maybe like Intermedia or something like that earlier than I wish I did because I'm having to try to, steer this giant ship now. Which is great that I'm a giant ship, but the problem is that, I'm having to go back and redo some of the fundamentals, which I need to do that early on.
You know what, though? That's not always a bad thing because I've noticed that in my business that I've always had to go back. Sometimes I just got to go back to the basics. And you know what? That helps reaffirm the things that I do in my business and gives me a better appreciation and understanding for what I'm doing instead of just using just kind of what I've done the whole time using, different tools and stuff. Sometimes I'll just go back and I want to make it easier on me, but at the same time, I want to get back to the point where, I actually know what I'm talking about and actually know what I'm doing, and I have a good understanding from the ground up, and I kind of like that sometimes.
Yeah. So
hey,
that's
Martin,
part of what I've been doing.
Access points at the school.
So at the one school, they were purchasing access points before I even came in, and they're using Arrowhive.
Okay.
I just gotta say right now, hands down, totally. I don't even know if I'm not gonna use. Well, I don't know if I should say the word. Anyways, they're way too expensive.
Okay.
We had to buy a new one. One broke. We had to buy a new one. It was $600 and something. That's with educational discount. $100 for the power supply. Yeah, the power supply that little brick plugs in. $100 for that alone. I deployed access points through Open Mesh to another school. We deployed 8 of those for under $1,000.
Okay. And you're not seeing it with a more expensive product. You're not seeing any more benefits than what you get with Open Mesh.
I see better benefits with Open Mesh, and I know our phone guy. So if you call in, you'll talk to the greatest guy and one of the best Open Mesh evangelists out there. But I've been talking to Marvin a lot about Open Mesh, and he's
I've been drinking that Kool-Aid too. I got a ton of them out there.
Well, and then they made the change. So they just upgraded the firmware on the device itself from 4 to 5, and it. For the longest time, and I talked about this on Geeksters, and I think we've probably talked about it, I've been wanting to do some kind of a content filter in my home because I've had problems, not in my home, but I'm testing in my home, and I was using a pfSense box because the problem with OpenDNS, and this is just one of the issues with OpenDNS, is because it's cloud-based, you have to point all your DNS from your router out, right? And then so you're putting all of it leaves your home and it checks OpenDNS, and actually while it's outside it checks it and it says whether you can or cannot go to a certain site. The problem is that all you have to do is just tell it not to check OpenDNS. So you change your local machine to go somewhere else. That's a problem unless you lock down port 53 where DNS resides, and you say use nothing but OpenDNS. pfSense can do that, but the latest version of OpenMesh, you put in there and it blocks everything else but OpenDNS natively.
Okay.
So just upgrade if you're using the version 3 or 4 firmware on the controller itself, not necessarily the cloud tracks, the interface, but on the controller itself, upgrade it, and you put in OpenDNS in there, and now they can't go around it. So
Nice.
Huge two thumbs up for me for OpenDNS, because I tested that here at home on both the public and the private one, because you can link them, and you can't go around OpenDNS. So I'm totally sold on OpenDNS, and I would love to redo this other school that uses AeroHive to OpenDNS, but they have 8 access points already, and so now it would cost, a lot of money to get them to convert all the way over, even though it would probably be a whole lot cheaper in the long run.
Well, I think, you know what, though, if they have another box go down, I think you'll be able to justify that cost, switching that over.
Because it would cost them as much money to get one as it would just a little bit more to redo the whole school, as opposed to just buying one.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, there's definitely opportunity coming down the road, because I'm sure those things they're electronic, right? They don't last forever.
Right. Right. Yeah. This one, I picked up the box and it would rattle, and it sounded like it sounded like one of those shaker things. I can't remember what what I'm talking about.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And I thought, well, so I took the housing off, so it was just the part, and it was inside there. So I was able to look at some holes and shake it, and I'm like, oh, that's a chip. Like one of the chips had come off the board, and it was dead. It was shot. So.
Hey, those are called maracas. I would have figured you would have known, but
Anyways, it's because of my beard. What is the guitar in my?
Never mind.
All right.
Oh no, I got the joke. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm Hispanic. There, we got it. There. Can we move on now?
Oh my God.
Hey Martin, are you using Intermedia for anything else besides just the voice over IP?
No, just
either hosted exchange or anything.
No, I have a Microsoft rep that I go through Hosted Exchange. I've used Intermedia before for Hosted Exchange and VoIP, but that company just stopped calling me. So.
Are you able to take the VoIP and actually forward it to a cell phone if that's what you choose to do? Can you do those types of things? Okay.
Yeah, because that was one of the questions I asked my rep this is what I want to do. So it's going to ring on the phone. After so many rings, if it doesn't answer, it's going to kick over to my cell phone. I can then answer it or not answer it. If I don't answer it, it'll kick back over to, now this is the decision I'll have to make, either kick back over to Intermedia and go to their voicemail, which then I'll get an email with the WAV file, or let my phone answer it and continue to go through Google Voice, then at least I can get a text readout. Because right now they don't have transcribing natively.
Yeah, you know what? So when I went through Grasshopper, the one thing I liked about it is, number one, I didn't want to. I thought about getting another phone for my office, like having an actual VoIP phone and forwarding that number. But what I do right now is with Grasshopper, I'll forward it to my cell phone, and then if I don't pick it up, it can forward to my wife's cell phone. She can pick up the call, or whomever. If I had other people that were working in my business, I could do that type of thing. But one of the things that I did was I actually started using Grasshopper's voicemail, just because I can get that MP3 or whatever emailed to me, and I can look at it, I can listen to it right there, and get the message. I don't really worry about it that much, to be honest with you. I'll get to it when I get to it, but that's just me. So some people, you got to have that instant where, they want you to get a hold of you. And a lot of times, if you're getting those numbers anyways, you're going to know that somebody's called you. And the chances are you're going to look and you're either going to call that person right back or, listen to their message. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of great systems out there. So.
Well, I'm trying to figure out whether or not I'm going to hire a tech or I'm going to hire somebody to do the back end, like answering the phones and then doing some basic troubleshooting. And so that way, at least I can get a phone and then it can ring both places, and then I don't have to answer it. They'll answer it. And yeah, and if you're a Costco member, I think I got my phone for like $85. So it wasn't a huge cost for the phone, and then I can just get another phone, and they can, wherever they work from, if they work from home, or my wife will love it when I'll take my phone with me to Disneyland next year. Just plug it in and I'll just answer my phone right there.
Yeah, if I was your wife, I would probably hide your phone, before you packed it, and just.
We had a long conversation about vacations coming up on the way here today, so.
Yeah, I can understand that. Anyway,
or the lack of vacations, but enough about me.
All right, John, what have you been working on in your business?
We still got time left in the show?
Well, I could just talk slower.
Let's see. Probably the biggest thing on my plate lately has been rolling out our new RMM product. I'm on board with Ninja RMM, and that's been going well. So, switching over the 600 plus endpoints I have from one RMM to another has been interesting, and learning about the new product along the way. Otherwise, I would suggest probably just the basics. Dead hard drives, a little bit of virus stuff here and there. some upgrades, router programming, some new VPNs, that sort of thing. Nothing that exciting.
Okay.
Hey, back to Open Mesh, though. We did roll out another Open Mesh installment. And my question for Martin is, have you rolled out any of the new MRs, the round disk?
No, I have not. No.
And
it's mainly, it was cost. I know that, I think if I remember correctly, because I was actually talking to Sherwin this morning about this, is that the infrastructure, the cloud tracks is still the same, right? Your controller.
Everything's the same. It's just on how dense, how many people are going to be using it. So like the standard AP from them is like 20 to 50 users. The round one goes like 50 to 100.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have 40 people or 60 people in a classroom, you might want to use the MR series.
Well, what we did with the school is we just rolled out more of the smaller ones.
Yep.
And that's what we ended up doing. And we actually oversaturated it. I didn't realize it until we got things loaded up, how just oversaturated the system is, because it's hot now wherever you go. And one of the benefit of cloud of this Open Mesh that I didn't even realize is that one of the lines was actually down. Like I tapped down the connection and put a new the housing on the wall for it, and the line, I don't know where it goes. They're leasing this building, so we have no idea. It's another, we're just using part of it. I have no idea where the...
He froze.
Just kicked on, turned on, became a mesh point. I didn't have to do anything else to it. It just synchronized with all the other clients, and away it was going. So whether you have a physical connection to the box or you just plug it in with power, it just works. Now, of course, you can't do a mesh environment if you're trying to do PoE. You need that, because that's where your power is going to come from.
Right.
But I was just blown away with, I just unplugged it from the Ethernet, and it just picked up the mesh point, and it just, that one's just right across the hall, so it's not too far, and it just works.
Nice.
That's the beauty of Open Mesh, you bet.
Very cool. All right, should we get into some emails? I was going to go over something that a customer of mine came across, but it's something I wanted to ask Chris, so we'll keep that for next week. As far as my business, real quick, just been tearing apart laptops, replacing fans, hard drives. People are rough on laptops. That's all I have to say. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Let's get into some emails. We have, this email is from Randy Chen. It says, "Hi Jeff, on the computer repair show 145, converting ISO to USB, you made a bunch of USB keys with different Windows ISOs on them. Have you ever tried using the USB multi-boot software like Yumi or Sardu? There are a few types of software, but I am using Yumi. You can load up a 2 terabyte USB drive with all the different ISOs. It's pretty easy to set up and free to use." And I have a link to that. I have used, it's a great show, keep up the good work, Randy. I have used Yumi before in the past. And to be honest with you, my problem has always been I've had trouble getting multi-boot ISOs, the right ones that I need at any given time, to boot into some of these systems. Especially with the newer UEFI, BIOS systems, it doesn't work all the time for me. And it could be the way I'm setting it up could absolutely be wrong. What I did was I got some USB hard or USB flash drives. They're the little titanium ones that they have like a little circle, little key ring. You can put them on a key ring or whatever, and they're waterproof and everything. Your USB 3.0. I got a whole box of them, 10 of them, 8 gig ones for like $50 for the whole box. And normally they're like $17 a piece. So I bought those. And what I did was I installed my ISOs on each and every one of those. Some have tools on them. Some have they'll have the Windows 8 ISOs. They'll have the 64-bit, 32-bit. Windows 7, I can put my all the ISOs on there for all the different Windows 7 operating systems. And I can also Windows 10 was really easy because basically 32-bit, 64-bit. You've got both versions on there, so that was fairly easy to do. And the other thing, too, is I'm starting to get a lot of Windows 10 machines in, believe it or not, because, you know why? People are upgrading their computers, and they don't really know why. They're just doing it.
It's because that annoying box doesn't go away, and they think, well, I must do it.
That could be.
And part of the reason is because as techs, people say, should we upgrade our computers? And you say, yes. Every time you see the little box that says upgrades needed because it's Windows upgrades, they do it. And they said, well, we saw a box. It's told upgrade. I've had people say that. You said upgrade. Whenever it says reboot your computer or do your Windows updates, I update it. And then this box comes up and says update. And as techs, we go, that's a wrong box. But as a just a home user, they're going to say it says update, so I updated it, and now I don't like it. It's broken. And I go, I know. I'm sorry.
Well, to be honest with you, I've installed it on 5 systems here, and what I don't understand is every one of these systems is anywhere between 5 to 7 years old. Well, except one. One's a newer system, but everything else beyond that is 5 to 7 years old. And it on spinning hard drives, Windows 10 runs better than Windows 7 ever did. And I'm blown away, amazed. I don't know what they did. I really don't, because I'm like going, this computer has never moved so fast. And I'm not talking about these computers had brand new installs of Windows 7 on them. And it's not like not every one of them was all gunked up with stuff, over the years and whatnot. So I don't know, but I've got a 7-year-old laptop that I redid that it was an original, came with Windows Vista. I had upgraded to Windows 7. I put a brand new install of Windows 7 on there because I was redoing the system anyways. And then I decided to upgrade to Windows 10. And then once I did the upgrade, I went and did a fresh install of Windows 10, and that laptop runs so smooth, I can't believe it. I'm like, it has never run this good, ever. So
I don't have any Windows 10 complaints. I'm with you. My only complaints, and I guess they're not really complaints, would be just some compatibility issues with some applications.
Right.
Like for some customers, like time slips, or they just released a new version to fix that. Just some practice management or line of business apps aren't compatible. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the performance is nice. There's really nothing I don't dislike about it. I wish I could install some of the pre-installed Windows apps that I don't use, like Calendar or their mail client or the couple of those things. Right. And I know you can do that under the hood and all that, but it's nice to put an install button.
Yep.
But yeah, you having any experience with that, Martin?
I have Windows 10 on another hard drive I can put in that machine behind me, and I haven't messed with it in a month. So I say I'm sorry about people using Windows 10, which I'm really not. I think that one, it keeps me in business. Two, I realize that, and I understand, and I've heard from multiple people that, especially 8.1, just the huge increase of speed and time. I mean, Mitch from Geeksters, we talk, and he says, he noticed a big difference switching to Windows 8.1, and Fred Gaines, who was on with Geeksters for a while, he says 8 was so much faster with Windows, and then 10 is the same thing. I just don't have any experience yet. All my customers are very comfortable with Windows 7, and they're on a domain, and they haven't upgraded. And I mean, I'm not feeling the rush to go out and push them up to 10 yet. So.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't done that either, Martin. I'll probably start that next year with my business clients for full Office updates or something like that.
And I will tell you that there was a difference when I did an upgrade. I didn't notice any difference, but when I did a clean install, that's when I noticed the difference. So I don't know what the problem was there, but I did a fresh install of Windows 7, did an upgrade to Windows 10, and then it still wasn't running all that great. Then when I went and did a clean install, boom, it was like it just ran great. So I think a lot of people that I tell nobody to upgrade. I'm like, if you're using Windows 8.1, it works just fine for what you're doing, and it does, in my opinion. Windows 8.1, I've been using it for a while, runs better than Windows 7 ever did, to be honest. I'm still running on my production machine just because I've got so many things going on here that I'm a little nervous about upgrading this, even though I keep looking at Windows 10 on my secondary computer, which is right next to me, and I go, I really want it, but I don't know if I want to do it yet because it's going to cause me pain and suffering, and I'm not sure I'm ready to get into that type of pain and suffering. So I'm kind of holding out. Maybe a couple more months if I can wait.
So if you have clients that come to you and they're going to buy a new machine, are you recommending Windows 10? Are you recommending?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah.
I had to buy a new.
No, not my businesses. Still 7.
Right. I just bought 2. We had to buy 2 more machines for a business, and they're both 7 professional.
Okay.
Yeah, back on the boots. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll say yes. Mine are residential, so yes. For businesses, probably not. No, it would be Windows 7 professional. For a lot of these offices, that's what they're using. That's what they're used to. It works. If they're using a server, it works in their, with their server, domain controller and all that. So.
Hey, back to that boot CD. The one I like is called Xboot. If you guys use that one.
I've heard of it, but I haven't.
It's not quite as fancy as Yumi. It does the exact same thing, but what I like about it is you just take the ISOs you've already downloaded and just drag them in there. Instead of having a menu of ISOs to choose from. So if you'd like download the Bitdefender ISO, you just drag it in there, and then it puts it in a bootable menu. So you just you go find the ISOs instead of it building it for you. But
I've used a couple of those. I can't remember the names of them where you drag and drop the ISOs in, and I just, like I said, I'm gonna play around with it when I get some time. That's the key word. Want to get some time. But right now, the easiest thing for me to do was, and it took me, I had actually broken my Windows 7 all-in-one ISO.
Nice job.
And I finally fixed it so that it'll boot from a USB key because I was still using the disks.
Martin, did you just put that in the chat after I said it, or did you put that in there already?
Oh no, I have to after you chatted. I've got Google Foo.
All right, man.
Yeah, he's the man on the keyboard, the man with the plan.
Not in the van. With
not
the plan.
in the van. Yeah, not in the van. So, anyways, no. So that's good. Thanks, Randy, for that email, and we'll definitely check that out. Second email is from Chad Kempt, and he's from Fast Computers in Canada. It says, Jeff, was listening to your last show on insurance. I agree with Chris's position wholeheartedly that insurance should not be something to skip over. You are putting your business, yourself, and your family at unnecessary risk by not covering yourself. On that note, I want to share this picture with you. This is a local computer repair shop one town over, about 10 miles away. This fire happened a couple days ago in the middle of the night. And it's a picture where it's a huge building that had probably like 6 or 7 stores in it, and half the building's gone. Just nothing. I do not know the full extent of the damage caused to his shop, but I don't imagine it could have escaped unscathed. This brought up an internal discussion in our company regarding a situation we find ourselves in fairly often. A residential customer will bring in their PC along with the backup drive for us to restore from after a format and reinstall or for some other reason. In this situation, we potentially not only have the client's machine, but their only backup as well. If a disaster happened, we could be in a very bad spot. With our business clients, it's a non-issue. We use a hybrid on-site, off-site solution, or backup solution, Dado. But for residential clients who may not have invested in off-site backup, this is a risk. To combat this, we have put in place a process to minimize the risk as much as possible. We have a large NAS in our office, and it replicates off-site to a second location. When we start work on a client's PC, we back up all their data to our NAS, and then it replicates. The window for loss exists. If a fire were to happen right after we close and the client had brought the PC in 5 minutes before close to be worked on in the AM, but we have done everything we can within reason to protect their data. Hopefully this is helpful to someone. I'm happy to share more specific information about any of our setups in more details if anyone wants to compare notes. Thanks. Keep up the great work on the show. See you on Jetpack. Chad from Fast Computers. Thank you, Chad. And I will definitely put a link to that picture you sent me for their news. It shows the fire trucks and the building half down. So very cool. All right. Third email. This is from Chris Ferguson. A statement that you, Marvin, and Chris have all made is hitting home with me. If I'm going to use an automated tool, I need to know what it is doing. We trust tools like Malwarebytes and Bitdefender to accomplish our tasks and stay away from others like ComboFix. Although this one is used by a 4-lettered friend named Mike for specific reasons, but we do not know why. I know speed is the name of the game, but knowing that a system is clean and efficient is just as crucial to our reputations. I have found myself guilty of relying on such tools without knowing the science behind them, and am currently pursuing that knowledge. I have a couple requests. If I bounce a couple of screenshots with you with a summary of my thoughts, would you mind reviewing them and giving them feedback? I know time is one of your most valuable commodities, and response may not come quickly. Also, I remember a site being mentioned in one Podnutz where we could go pick up an infection intentionally. Do you recall what it is? Thank you for the great shows and the caliber of participants you are able to retain. I know it takes great skill and execution to keep it going with a full-time job and family. I continue to learn, as I am certain all the listening family does. I am glad the initial heckler did not deter you when you first announced you were taking the helm. I also appreciate Dor for allowing you to do so. Chris Ferguson. Thank you, Chris, for that email. Great to hear that you're getting something out of it. I will say, as far as, so back in the day, let me tell a little story. Back in the day, when I was doing virus removals and I was using all the automated tools that were available to me, I did use ComboFix a lot. But here's the thing. The reason I never ran into a problem is because the only thing I never used ComboFix to eradicate viruses. I used ComboFix as a Windows fix tool. It was a very, very last thing I ever ran. So my machines were already clean, but there might have been some settings in Windows that I didn't want to go back through and manually reset. So what I would do is I would run ComboFix, let it run. It fixed and reset all my Windows back to the, Windows settings back to the, from like day one to to where it worked fine. And so that's what I use ComboFix for. Now, the people that have used ComboFix as a virus removal tool, I've heard, and I don't know, but I've heard that some of them have, basically botched machines up doing that. It just crashes the system. They end up doing a fresh install anyways. But I don't think Mike does that. I think he uses it like I did, was basically, now I don't use it anymore, but back in the day, I would use it as my last resort. Nowadays for fixing Windows problems, I use the tweakings.com all-in-one repair tool. But even then, I rarely, a lot of stuff I actually go in and manually reset myself. So.
Well, all these tools, like you said, Jeff, can hose a system.
Absolutely.
If even a basic antivirus could remove some file that's needed because it's affected, and then all of a sudden, you're sort of reinventing the wheel. Yeah, I think we all pick on ComboFix because it has maybe a higher probability to do that based on what it's doing, because it may be more invasive than the other tools. The other thing is it does not really give you a great picture of what the heck it's doing.
Right.
So it is one of those tools to where we can't understand what it's really doing behind the scenes, unlike tweaking or UVK, which gives you a description of what's happening. But I go back to the whole thing. You just use the tools that you think are going to get the job done.
Yep.
So if you're going to run ComboFix, because if you're out of other options, maybe it's the last thing you do. If it hoses the system, you're going to have to do a nuke and pave anyways, maybe.
Exactly. There's a lot of times, like I said, with even Windows 7, not a lot of times, but every once in a blue moon, I haven't used it in a long time, but every once in a blue moon I might have to pull ComboFix out because even the all-in-one repair tool didn't get what I needed. Right. And it's like, I have a choice at that point. And it's like, for me, ComboFix is the Hail Mary. That's a football term, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking because I know nothing about that. But anyways, so it's my Hail Mary before I have to do a reinstall. Okay. Yes, that's true. Yes. If I'm going to Mass on Saturday night. Yes, okay. Anyways, yeah, I actually grew up Catholic. I do know some of these things. So anyways, Marvin, what do you, Martin, because I was talking to Marvin earlier. Martin, what do you think about, ComboFix and, using tools that are just automated? I know because you've kind of changed the way you've done things over the last, 6 to 8 months.
That's right. Computer with infection comes in with me. I take it out back and I shoot it. I don't even bother. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, well, I live in Oregon. Everybody around here just carry. We just carry. So, no, I do automated tools as well. I use a lot of D7, and inside of the D7, my big ones that I use are going to be JRT, adware removal. I think I've used ComboFix once, but it's the tools that one, either I don't feel comfortable with because I've never used, or that they've burned me in the past, and I think ComboFix may have burned me, but it's also the kind of the behind the scenes. It just flashes something and kind of you go, oh, okay. And then I like to see what's going on a little bit more, or at least have a little more understanding. And you know and you learn what works well and what doesn't work well by listening to shows, by talking to other techs. If you have a lot of techs that come together and say, you know what, JRT, hands down, one of the greatest ones, or Malwarebytes, or something like that, and then every now and then somebody pipes up from the back and says, well, I use ComboFix, but that's one person out of maybe a group of people. I probably am not going to use ComboFix because chances are I can't use every tool. Well, I know I can't try every single tool that comes out on the market. But if I try 3 and John chooses 3 and Jeff chooses 3 and Marvin chooses 3, now there's 12 tools and we're going to figure out which ones works the best, and we're going to listen to each other because we've worked together, we've hung out together, we've talked to each other.
Right.
We don't all have to try 12 different tools. Each of us can take on a little bit and go, you know what, hey, I was really burned on this product and that's why I probably not going to use it. Just learn. So I've refined what I do, but a lot of the stuff I do is from what comes in D7, and I realize that ComboFix I believe is available in there, and I've used it once, and I don't remember. I think it didn't work out very well. But I think, like you said, it's the last resort. You've already backed up the computer. You already have an image of it. You're trying to just do it, and at some point, it doesn't matter what tool you use or what, how. At some point, the infection is going to be big enough where you're going to realize that I'm spending a whole lot of time trying to clean this, and eventually it's going to be Swiss cheese, and you just kind of say, well, you know what, a reinstall is going to do your best. And so I know there are techs out there who say, nope, no way, never give up, never surrender, clean it, and move on, and other techs, there's both sides. Other techs say, I get a malware infection. I know that I realize I never can get it clean, so I'm just going to wipe and, nuke and pave type thing. I kind of do both. I'll work on it a little bit and say, you know what, this is kind of wasting my time. I'm going to have to reload this system anyways, and I reload the system.
Right. You got to use, yeah, you got to play to your strengths. So do what's going to work for you, I think, is what it really comes down to. But I like your concept of community and how we kind of all pull together and we each try different things out and learn from each other and go, yeah. And then, if somebody else uses it and they're able to use it and it works for them, we're more likely to be able to try those out and let me try that. And then I find out that it works for me and I go, oh, okay, that's great. And somebody else will figure out, hey, this works. And I kind of like that concept of the whole community thing pulling together.
I got to admit, with Combo Fix, there's probably about 50-50. As many times as I've wanted to curse its name, I've probably wanted to give it a high five, though, too.
Oh, yeah.
Save my butt. So,
exactly.
Or save me a lot of time. So.
Yep, exactly. Absolutely. All right, let's take a quick commercial break. Our show today is brought to you by Reclaim Me Pro. Reclaim Me Pro is the all-in-one, highly configurable data recovery software for both beginners and experts. It can recover data from multiple file systems, including Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. Yes, I did say Linux, Martin, just so you know. And it also can find lost partitions. You can save and load your save state. It's equipped with a highly configurable disk imager. It does sector by sector, virtual hard disk, or virtual hard disk X. And I had to be honest with you, I had to look up the difference between VHD and VHDX, and basically one has a 2 terabyte limit and the other one has a 64 terabyte limit. So yeah. So that's why there's the 2 different file systems. But this will find both. So it reads most partitioning schemes from Microsoft to Linux, powerful RAID analysis tools for complex RAID recovery. They also offer free data recovery training to help you understand partitions, file systems, RAID recovery, and more. For a free 14-day trial, go to reclaimme-pro.com. That's RECLAIME-PRO.com. And if you use the offer code Podnutz, you get a 50% discount. And this has also got an approval from our very own Scott Moulton from My Hard Drive Died. He's checked it out and used it, and he's been in contact with Reclaim Me and talked to him about different things that they could help to improve what they've been doing, and they've been real receptive to that. And it seems like this is something they're constantly working on. And I can't remember the other name of there's a program that they use that a lot of people use to, I think it's just Reclaim, and they use it to, recover photos and stuff like that. So they've been in the industry for a long while, but this is it's a high-end tool, but it's not necessarily, it's a little more expensive, but it's not necessarily a super high-end price for what you want to do. So, and it kind of keeps everything all in one box, which I think is kind of cool. I've used it a couple times, and it's amazing to me the things that it was able to find and how quickly it actually works on a decent system. So, plug in a hard drive, you run it, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've had dead partitions that it just recovers and says, yep, here's the files, and I'm able to get the files and stuff out of there. So, definitely check them out, and that's our sponsor for today. All right. That was all our emails. So let me take a few minutes and talk about something as far as this show, something that's kind of been on my heart lately. And, let me just say that I really love to do the show. Now, let me take you guys back to April of 2014 when Dor, the owner of Podnutz, actually approached me about coming on and doing, I believe it was Podnutz Daily at the time. And I said, yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. And so I took over Podnutz Daily and then kind of took this show and took it to more of a live format. And, I got a hold of Scott Moulton and started doing My Hard Drive Died. And to be honest with you, I was at a point, because a lot of you know I do this part-time, but I was at a point in my business where I was almost like going, do I really want to do this business anymore? And to be honest with you, I couldn't emphatically say, yeah, I definitely want to do this business. It's, I've already got a full-time job and a full-time family and all these other things going on, But one of the things that happened was, I believe, because of me coming on this show and getting the community, you guys, together and actually, partaking of what we're talking about and feeding us and giving back, and the guests that have come on the show, this has been an awesome format for me to not only learn from, but also to grow from. Even though I'm the host of the show, and I act like I know everything, I really don't. There's a lot that I get out of the show, and there's a lot of benefit. And I believe that this is partially why I've stayed in my business. And I'm continually, constantly looking to grow my business for various reasons, so that when I retire here in a few years, I can go ahead and go into this business full time and do what I really like to do versus what I have to do on a regular basis. So with that being said, I just appreciate each and every one of you out there that listen to us and also give your feedback in your comments and join us live and joining us, in the chat room and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for this show to really start to come together as a community where we can help each other out, because the biggest reason I continue to do this show and to run my own business is I really want to help people out. And what I see in this industry is I see a lot of people out there that are not really, I don't want to say that they don't want to help, they kind of do want to help, but they only want to help in certain ways. And I think we can all do a lot better together than we can just sitting out here by ourselves going, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how to deal with that situation. If I've got 2 or 3 people that I can contact and say, hey, what would you do in this situation, or how do I do this? There's people out there that are willing to help. And so with that being said, I want to make this a better, more cohesive community. And we've got some things that some people in the community are working on that we're going to try to bring that together. And I'm not going to reveal those right now. But I'm excited because I'm going to continue to do this show so that I can learn, and I'm also going to continue to do the show so that I can help others out there. Because really, I feel that that's my mission in life, is to help other people in this industry to the best of my ability. And again, I don't know everything, but hopefully the guests I'm bringing on that do different things, they know a lot more stuff than I do. You that are listening to this show, you know a lot more stuff than I do, and you're able to, to help us to understand what's going on there in the industry. So one of the things that I want to do, and this is just what we did, was I got an urging from a couple people to start a Patreon campaign. So with that being said, what I would like to do is we grow this community together. I want to reinvest in the community. I want to reinvest into, the equipment and stuff that we use, into, maybe bring the production up to a little higher level, different things like that. This does take a lot of time, and whether people realize that or not doesn't really matter. I'm still going to continue to do it regardless. But we started up a Patreon campaign just so that if you feel like you're getting help from this show, that you have the ability to give back. And a lot of people, they ask all the time, hey, how can I give to the show? How can I give back? And there's many different ways. Okay, monetary is one. But really, even more important than that, that's not even that important to me. It just helps with the things that, the monthly costs and all that kind of stuff, and equipment and different things. The most important thing is, a lot of people ask me, hey, how can I help with the show notes, or how can I help with, maybe putting some stuff together in the background, and as far as like the show notes for this show, here's what I'm going to suggest is if that's something, and again, if you have a passion for that type of thing where you really like to put down show notes and you like to make the links and you want to put it together and you put it in a beautiful format, what I'm going to suggest is that, because I've talked to a couple people, but I haven't heard back definitively yet, I think the best way to do it is go ahead and put some show notes together for this show. Whether you listen to it live or listen to it in audio format later, that's fine. And then send those to me via email, and what I'll do is I will add those to the show notes. And so we have more comprehensive show notes. Maybe we have some links that maybe I might have forgotten, and we'll be able to build a better repository of information that everybody that does what we do can use, on a regular basis. And I think with the new website, I think we'll be able to do some cool things with that too. So I think there'll be some more ability to get some more information in there that will benefit each and every one of us. So anyways, that's what I wanted to say to you guys that are out there listening. I appreciate you, and I thank you for everything that you do, the feedback, the email, and if you have an idea for the podcast, send it to me. I read every email, and I respond to every email. I don't care how many come in, I eventually will get around to it. And the reason I do that is because I want to communicate back and forth with the community. And now, understand, I can't use everybody's idea, but if I get, 5, 6 people that say, hey, I'd really like to see this, then maybe we can kind of change and adjust the format of the show, because I want to bring information that's going to help you guys to the best of my ability. So, the only way I can do that is by understanding what it is you guys want out of the show. And so, anyways, with that being said, I'm off my soapbox. And
Jeff, what's the Patreon link?
It is patreon.com/computer repair podcast. Kind of the same name as the show. And it was available. All right. So with all that being said, we spent a long time on a lot of different things. One last subject that I want to get into, though, is why in the world do you want to start your own computer repair IT business? I don't get it. Why would you want to do? Why do you want to go through all that pain and suffering? Forget all that stuff I just said.
Half days. 12 hours you want.
That's right. For the golf. No, not the sport, but actually the Volkswagen Golf.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, very good.
I drive a Fox.
Fox
hatchback.
What does it say?
No, Volkswagen Fox.
So, Martin, what got you? Why did you want to start a computer repair business? What were you thinking when you started that computer repair business?
Honestly, I was tired of getting shot at and picking up drunk people in the middle of the night.
Okay, that's pretty extreme. So I can see the draw there.
Well, okay, all right. So I started my. So, anyways, before I started working in computers, I went to paramedic school. I was working on an EMS, and so I did that for many, many years. And this basically just something that I really enjoyed: computers, tinkering. I had a computer in high school and hooked it up to a local BBS system and got huge amount of trouble when my father came back home because he was in Kentucky, and I'm like, great, he's in Kentucky, I'm in California. This is a great time to disregard every rule he told me about ever hooking the computer up to the internet and hooking it up to the internet. So I've always had a computer and just tinkered and played with it, and so basically my hobby became my passion. And
okay.
But why did I go into business for myself?
Yes.
I just I've seen people who own their own business. It's something that I've just wanted to do. Unfortunately, this could be great, this could be terrible. I dive in with both feet, and I have a hard time saying no. And so running a business seemed like the greatest way to go ahead and just be a sadomasochist, and just dive in and never sleep. But I really enjoy this. I'm such a people person. I realized when I was working in computers for a company, you had your own boss, and you kind of did what they told you. You do wherever you work. If you have a boss, you do what they tell you to do. And not that I did find that. I don't have a problem with leadership. I don't have that's not the reason. Is I just love this job, and I love the people, and I love going out and solving it, and I wanted to do it for myself. And so I did.
Okay. Great. Now, have you learned some lessons along the way? Because a lot of people, they'll look at this business and they look at it as, and here's what I see. A lot of people get in and they go, it's exciting at first, and then they realize that there's actual work. And what ends up happening is, because a lot of people get in this industry and they'll start real cheap and they'll be the low guy and they'll get so much work and they're so busy, but they're going, man, I'm barely still making ends meet. And at that point they go, why am I still doing this? I could go get a job at McDonald's and make more money.
Right. I am the Venn diagram. I have both of those things. I don't charge enough. And I know that. Okay. But I work a lot, and my wife is a PA through Kaiser. Okay, just to give you a baseline. And this year I'm going to pull in as much, if not just a little bit more, than my wife is. Okay. So I'm very successful, but like I mentioned earlier, my wife and I had to talk about vacations coming up. My family is going to Disneyland next year. We're flying down. Everybody's going to Disneyland, not just my family, but the extended family. And they're asking me, can you make it for the full week in Disneyland? And I'm stressing out because I don't know if I can, because I work all the time. So I would say that if you're going to get into this business, if you're going to get into computers, if you're going to start up any business, it is a rewarding job. It is great fun. You are your own boss. But you still have to deal with people, and it will be rough. Don't go in thinking, because I was talking to my friend and he'd be golfing and he owns his own business, and I'm like, how are you doing that? That is awesome. You get to make your own hours and money just rolls in. And no. You will have to work, and you are going to be kind of, the job will be your boss for a while until you get set up. So there are some things that I've learned now that I wish I knew then on how to do it, and there's only certain things you can. Some of the things takes money,
Sure.
And it really does. It does. You have to spend money to make money. That seems counterintuitive, but once you're in it and you're doing it, you're realizing, that's, that's what it is. I realize that at some point I'm going to have to buy that Fluke that Marvin keeps talking about because it's going to pay. It's going to pay back, but I just don't have the money to buy the Fluke right now. So I realize that I see the benefit in that. But I started this business because I really enjoyed what I do. I enjoyed working with people, and it was something that I thought, I'm gonna do this.
Very cool. John, from your side of the tracks there, how do you feel? Why did you get started in your business? And what were the benefits of the draw for you?
Well, probably what opened my eyes to it was the first couple of jobs I got right out of college were with companies where I got to work alongside the guys that owned those businesses. So I worked for a big consulting firm out of college, did a lot of travel, but my boss owned the company, so I got to see how that operated. But really what I bought into is I like the challenge, I like the commitment it takes, and it really opens your eyes to the aspect that you have to be able to admit to yourself that you don't know everything. Like I like to say all the time, the only thing I know for sure is I don't know everything. So you really get an opportunity to meet other professionals that can support you. We talked about insurance, so I have an insurance professional. You have other techs in this kind of community. So it's not just all about the work, although that may be one of the most rewarding parts about it, but other things are like the Podnutz community, going to CompTIA and the other cons that we go to, that's very rewarding. I also like the aspect that I like the idea that if I don't go down out and hunt it down and kill it, that I'm not going to have anything to eat. That it's my job. I can take the pride in the work. I can take the credit for it. And back when I did have employees, the only aspect of that point that I really liked was the aspect of trying to make them better for my business and better as individuals. Like I had some young college kids that came up and worked for me, so it was fun to see them grow, turn into young men, and then move on to other successful careers. So the whole thing is very rewarding, but I couldn't probably say anything better than Martin did. It's very rewarding but very demanding. We do the same thing. You go to Disneyland, Martin, we go to Disney World down in Florida. So when I'm down there, sometimes they're at the park and I'm sitting somewhere on my laptop. So, and usually now we've come to the point where if we go down for a week, I've kind of figured it out, Martin, we can talk about this, is, where if they're down there for a week, 2 of those days I'm working, usually either for a half day. So I'm finding, and it's actually kind of a joy when you do that because it's a new atmosphere. You're somewhere else. You can load up on a couple monsters and get some work done or whatever. But
I'm a big guy. I'll have to take a little bit more than a couple, but yeah.
Okay, I'm with you. But no, the one thing I would take before anybody jumps into this is, or any job, if you're a painter and you love to paint, keep in mind that if you don't want to do the books, if you don't want to deal with the legality, if you don't want to do with the insurance, if you don't want to do the paperwork, you have to take into account all those things. Just because you love to paint and might be the best painter out there, that's not all this business is about. It's just not about fixing computers. You got to be able to communicate, document, do the paperwork, pay the bills, deal with the distributors, make the vendor relationships, go to meetings, meet other people, carry on a conversation, so on and so forth. And also, the biggest mistake we all probably made when we first started out is don't start cheap. It's always easier to lower your prices. Take into account all those costs at the beginning if you can.
Yeah, I think when I say that I've learned so much in this business, I'm going to say probably 30% of what I've learned has been computer related. Granted, we're in a technology that's moving and changing and shaking all the time, but 70% of my knowledge that I wish I knew then is business related. It's things like you just mentioned, the bookkeeping, which I hate. Bookkeeping, business relationships, and I'm a people person. I mean, I met you guys, and we hit it off right away. I had to pay you, but hey, I pay my clients as well. Maybe that's why I'm not making money. I got a note to self: contact bookkeeper about not paying clients to be my friends. Okay. But yes, bookkeeping. Hire a bookkeeper. That's one of the things I have. The paperwork, the relationships, and stuff like that. Those are things that, I am a more confident person to get up and talk to a stranger now than I was when I started this business. Because if you are the business owner and I'm the one who has to make, I've got to go out there and talk to people. And because when you're going out and you're selling your business, you're selling you. My Obando Computing, people go, oh, your last name, it's the same. Because it's Obando Computing. So I'm selling myself to the customers when I'm trying to get a job, and that makes you, the first couple times I sounded like a blubbering idiot. Now I don't sound as much like a blubbering idiot, but it's good. You get out there and you learn those skills and you learn that public speaking, and that confidence then transfers us over to, that confidence that you have by learning how to be a better rounded salesman transfers over to your confidence in, oh yeah, I can charge that amount of money because I know my job. If you go in and you will do this as a first time person trying to get this business, you will be shy and timid. It is a learning experience. I've been in this now for almost 4 years, and I'm still shy and timid, but yet I can go in front of a board of directors now and say, this is why you need me. This is why I'm the perfect fit. Yeah, you can call Geeks Knocking Down the Way. You can call this other company, but you're going to get them and you're going to get a call group, and you may not get that one-to-one support. But if you get me, my name is on my business. And while that's a problem because my name is on the business, it's also a benefit because my name's on the business. I have 100% full stake into this company, and if Obando Computing messes up, then when you see me driving around and you see Obando Computing on my car, you're going to go, that's the guy who screwed me over, and I don't want that. I want to be able to be successful, and you need me to make you successful so then you can be up and running, and that's my job. So when you go down, you don't have to worry about it. And those are things that, now I can go in and I can say, yeah, the problem with the router is this. Why? Because this is the problem. Well, I don't know. No, it is the problem. I'm sure that this is the problem. And, but then also I could also say, I'm positive that's a problem. Oh, it wasn't the problem. Yeah, I completely messed up. totally humble enough to go, I don't know everything. And I'll tell you right off the bat, people still have one client right now who they're in the process of moving over to a hosted exchange, but they have an exchange server. And I'm like, I am not an exchange admin. It's something that I've never wanted to do. It's going, some people really like it. I don't. And I said, well, I can work with people who are, but they're moving to the hosted exchange anyways, which takes a huge pressure off me. But, it's being willing to say, this is what you know and this is what you don't know. But at the same time saying, I don't know that, but because I know 80% of what you have and there's 20% of me to learn, I will learn that and I'll make sure that you're successful.
Well, you've been doing this for 4. I've been doing it for 20, Bando, and the same rules apply still. So, yeah.
Well, you're just 4 times as more awesome there than me.
No, 4 times more is worn out, maybe.
Well, and that's where I think part of this, part of this community coming together. Yeah, we've all got gray hair. Well, except for. Yeah, John, because he has none. But anyway, so...
And I just donated to the Patreon.
Okay. Anyways, no, I think there's a lot of things that can be learned in this business, and I think, like Martin was saying, there's a lot of good things to this business. You get to interact with real people. You get to help them with their problems. Sometimes you do have to stand up and go, this is why you're having issues, and here's what you need to spend. If you don't want to spend this, then here's the problems you're going to have, and there's nothing I can do about that. And if I misdiagnose something, which happens, then I'll come back and go, yeah, I totally made a mistake, and but I will always make it right. In like these guys are saying, I don't know everything. I'm learning as I go a lot of times, and there's people that I called John the other day because I hadn't been in a server. I was in 2003, Windows server the other day, and I'm like, I hadn't been in there in probably about 4 years. So I'm in there trying to fix this problem, and I was talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, he goes, usually this is why this happens, or, sometimes he gave me some information to follow up on that I could go, oh, yeah, that makes sense, and then I could, go to the customer and say, hey, here's what's going on, so those types of relationships and stuff help in this business too.
Well, and that's a benefit of being part of a community. You express that about being a part of the community and thankful to the community, is that because we are a community, we can call on each other, because that way I know that I don't have to go into a site and them saying, oh, I have the sonic firewall, and me going, I don't know what to do with that. I can't now, possibly losing the bid, but yet I know that I can call on Jeff and Marvin and Dor and Liam and all of these other people and Chris and say, hey guys, I've got a sonic firewall problem that's just, how do I open a port in this, or how do I do this? There's so many people, and that way now I'm bringing you guys in because you guys will help me, and eventually I'm going to help you. And as a community, I have a backing that I don't have to remember. I don't have to have a book full of, or a shelf full of books and go out and study all this stuff, because I can call on you guys to help me learn, and I can land that job because we have a community.
Right. Exactly. And that's what helps, and that's really what it is. It helps us all, because again, for me myself, I'm a local business guy. And I think we all are, really. I know John travels out a little bit, but I think those are sister companies to the companies he's already landed in his area. So that's why he has to travel out a little bit. I know Martin, I know you travel a little bit, but again, I think those were relationships that were created through your years of business of people you were supporting in the local area, and it kind of just kind of went out that way. So, but I don't look at everybody as competition. I look at it as, what, I've got my own little area, you've got your own little area, you've got your own little area. I'm not trying to be a Best Buy or a Micro Center or a Staples, or I'm not going nationwide. That's not what I do. I want to be the face of my business, and I want to be the person that you contact. Now, if I pull in employees, that's fine. Everybody gets to that point. Some people do that, some people don't. We've heard Marvin talk before about, we're talking about Marvin B, about having employees and not having employees. We just heard John talk about that, and it's like there's different ways to do business, but what's cool about it is you can do the business any way that you see fit. And there are things in my business that I will not do. And we've talked about this before. I'm not going to touch a phone. Matter of fact, I probably need to find a local guy that I can pass on. People call me about phone repairs all the time. I need to find somebody locally that goes, hey, you do phones? I'll zip them right over to you, because I just don't want to mess with that. It's not my cup of tea. It's not what I like to do. I tear apart laptops, and that's about, at my age, that's about as small as I'm getting. And there's a lot of people that, I get people stuff that people won't even touch those. They're like, nah, I'm not tearing that thing apart, and so, yeah, definitely you've got to know what you're willing to do, and don't try to be the jack of all trades. Everybody's heard the thing, you're a jack of all trades and master of none. Be good at what you're good at, and really, if you're good at removing viruses, man, and that's where you've kind of cut your keep removing those viruses. Now, not to say that you shouldn't look at putting other things in your business. You want to do managed service. One of the things I'm starting to roll out, John was talking about it, one of the RMMs we looked at, Ninja. I want to roll out to residential customers. I think I've found a way that I can get into a lot of residential homes that's a good price for them. And I'll have some email marketing that's going out here in the next probably week. And what's really weird about this business, I just have a little side note. I turned my advertising off for the last month. And for whatever reason, because I've been working on my business for the last month every time that I can, between the podcast and my business and my job. But I've been taking my open time and really working on revamping some things on my website, creating some forms and different things that I want to do, creating a managed service that I can push to residential customers. And I'm still getting calls, like brand new customers. Hey, can you come out and look at this? And I'm like going, I wanted no business for this last month, and I've had plenty of business. I'm like going, this is ridiculous. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. And one of the other things we talked about last week, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I went through and I revamped all my keywords for my Google AdWords, and I think I've got it now to where I'm happy. So if you guys want me to share that with you, just send me an email, and I'll go ahead and share it. I think there's 436 keywords, and they don't have anything weird in like free, cheap. All those words are gone in my AdWords. So what I'm going to do is over the next few months, I'm going to turn that back on come October 1st, and then I'm going to look at it and see if I can really dial in where my customers are coming from or what's going to benefit them, to see if I can make that a little bit better than what it's been for the last 5 years. So that's one of the things that I'm working on in my business. But I love the interaction, and what I really love is helping people out. But you get to a point where I love to help people out, but I got to a point where I love to help people out as long as I'm getting paid decently. and I don't mean to sound greedy or anything like that. It's not that. It's just
not about greed.
There's a bunch of other things I could be doing. I could be hanging out with my family. I could be doing whatever, playing a video game, whatever I wanted to do. But a lot of times I'm concentrating on, I'm taking my time and I'm putting it into something else, and I feel everybody should get paid accordingly.
Oh, here we go, B.
And we've got we've mentioned his name 3 times, and it's like rubbing a lamp and the genie just pops out. Here's Marvin B.
You called my name and I come a running.
Marvin.
I'm here to start the Kumbaya session and bring this community and koinonia back together.
So obviously you popped in for a reason. What did you have something to share?
Yeah, why are you here?
Yeah, the wife said, they're talking about you. You better get in there.
Throwing you to the lions.
So Marvin, I'll go back to Jeff's point. Jeff,
go ahead, John.
If you're not making money in this business, it gets pretty not fun, unfun,
right,
non-rewarding. So charge your rate, charge what you're worth. Back to what Martin said about this is when you're confident, charge what you're worth. Actually, don't charge what you're worth. Charge as much as the market you're in will bear.
Yeah, I agree.
Period.
And I'll be honest with you, and everybody knows this, I raise my prices and people still are going, that's it. I know.
You'll know when your prices are too high because your customers will tell you. Your customers will not tell you when your prices are too low. So raise them.
So here's a question then that I have, and this is coming from partially from me, is that in a home environment, so working with home clients versus working with businesses, you have home clients kind of you'll get some and lose some, get some, like there's a higher turnover.
Right.
Sure. As opposed to a business where you don't want that high turnover. So when you're raising your rates in homes, it makes sense because some people just aren't going to come back, but yet other people are going to come to you. In a business, how do you successfully raise your rates and hope to keep that business? Because the turnover rate is slower. So when you raise your rates when you work with businesses, how does that work?
Well, a lot depends on how you're managing those customers. If they're just hourly customers or you have some sort of contractual basis, what I mean by contract is you maybe bill them monthly or they have a quarterly fee based, or depending on how you're raising your rates, meaning I've done the rate increases where I've just raised the rate $5, let's say on the hourly clients. So maybe I've gone from $145 to $150, and 98% of the customers won't say anything. They'll just pay it. All right, and usually I'll move those either economically, maybe I've done some sort of survey or something and looked at what my other competition is charging, or maybe something's going on with gas prices, or something else in the market is pushing prices higher, or maybe my costs have gone up. I will simply raise those rates. Other things are based on the demands of the clients. If I have some sort of contractual relationship with them or MSP thing that we're doing with them.
Not the big words.
If they add 10 more computers or add more staff, or negatively take some, they close the shop and somebody's working out of their home now, I adjust those prices accordingly that way. You can't, way back when, usually if you were a young tech and you took on a client, they've probably grown with you, so they probably have a lot more than what you started with too, and their demands have probably gotten higher as well. Not to mention you're much more proficient than you were when you started off. Installing that first inkjet printer that took you 2 hours now takes you 6 seconds to do. So, you're shortchanging yourself in two ways. One, you're not making enough money because you're so much faster. Two, your rate should be higher because you're a professional. You're a subject matter authority now. You're not a pizza tech. You're not Johnny Ponytail. You're not the man in the van. You know what you're doing.
Right. So what do you do then if you're in a situation where you realize your rates are too low and you can't bump it up $5, but maybe you need to, do you say, I'm going to raise my rates to get to the point over the next couple of years? Or, as opposed to just saying, hey, by the way, I've gone up $20 an hour. Because that's, How?
Well, you have to judge it based on the clients, but also I have the feeling, and and you got to judge this on where you are with your business and your clientele, and can you afford to do this? Because you might get some pushback. But your clients should value what you're delivering to them as well. Obviously, if you're dealing with a nonprofit that might be very price sensitive, that might not be the one that you jack the prices up on. But other clients, if they're doing well, they should value the value you've brought to their business. And you're not doing anything else that all the other vendors we deal with don't do to us. We piss and moan when our auto insurance goes up, but what do? We pay it. Because we want auto insurance coverage. We piss and moan when our cable bill goes up, but what do? We pay it because we want to have high-speed internet. So we pay the people, our trusted advisors, like my insurance agent. Jeff and I were talking about insurance before the show. I know I do not have the cheapest rates, but I know I have the coverage as much as I need, no more, no less, no gimmicks, no frills, because he's my trusted advisor. So I am happy to pen the check to him because he's my trusted advisor, and he's there when I need him. You're there when your clients call. If they want to go to the Best Buy, whether they're less or more than you, they're not going to get what you deliver, nor Obando every time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, it was just a question because you got the little increases versus big increases to get to the same point. Two different situations.
Well, I always think the pain threshold. It's a lot easier, to get nicked by a pen than it is easier to get cut by a knife. So if you can afford to do it in little increments, sometimes it's just not that big of a deal. If you got to say, hey, we're doing a 50% increase over everybody today, which you might do because that'll get rid of a lot of clients that maybe you don't want, and you only keep those valued ones, and you might be working less but making more money. So the two things I always say are let the numbers lead you. You can kind of figure that out in a spreadsheet. Take your top 10, 50, 100, 200 clients, whatever, however you're positioned with how many you have at this time. Do a spreadsheet, see what a 50% increase looks like in price, and if half those clients left, math-wise, you might be making more money with doing less work. And you'd have the clients that very much value you because they know your value. Now, you almost might be in the position, too, I'm not unsensitive to the fact that, starting out, you might value every client you have because that's what's putting the food on your table. So, yes, tread lightly. But don't undervalue yourself and work 100 hours a week and barely make it.
Martin, you'll know which.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Martin,
Go
okay,
ahead.
you there?
Yep.
So, Martin, you'll know which customers you can do that to. I've gone through that where some clients you can raise a little bit every year, and they just assume it's a cost of living increase. Just like their employees go in and ask for a raise, just like their customers, they have to raise their prices. A lot of times, if you do it the right way, like John said, you just raise them every year, and everybody understands it's a cost of living increased or whatever. Some customers, you might do a big rate increase for many reasons, and I went through that with one customer where they literally every year when I tried to raise my rates, they're like, well, we can't afford to. Now, back then, I didn't want to lose them, so I didn't raise my rate. And I learned from an attorney friend of mine who was a client and then wasn't my client and a friend, and she told me, she said, don't ask them, just do it. They've got to learn to value your expertise in your business the same way that they value the expertise in business of their associates, their counterparts, and they won't look at you as a professional unless you do that. And so I did, and I went in, and I basically, at that point, I sent a letter, and I just told them, as of such and such a date, here are my rates. And it was a big jump. It was about a $30 an hour jump. And I remember it was a law office, so it wasn't like they couldn't afford it. But I didn't want to jeopardize the relationship. But then I finally wrote the letter, sent it, and I remember the managing partner looking at me going, Bobby, I got to eat. and I looked him back in the face and said, so do I. And I haven't had a problem with them since.
And we're not talking about screwing clients either. We're talking about the clients that we take care of, that when they call us on Sunday afternoon, even though we might not be quote-unquote open, we take their calls and we take care of them, but they got to pay for that. Right. And the other thing, if it's a valued client, like I've had a construction company where they've fallen on hard times, where I've actually said, okay, we'll take a couple months off. I'll still take care of you, but I value your business. We've had a long relationship. I'll work for you for free for a month or two. No problem. I'm in the fight with you. I want you to be around. You've been a great client. You get back on your feet, we'll start up again. Obviously, I'm not going to sell them $15,000 worth of gear in that particular moment, but I'm willing to give.
Right. All right. Yeah, it was just a,
Oh, and I'm not picking on you, Ben. No, I'm picking at you.
No, you
just basically on the lessons that I've learned, because I've been back there too, and I've done a lot of things. Man, if I would have just raised my rates, I would have been a lot happier and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, honestly, it's not like I'm not going, oh, I have this friend who, this is me. I'll come out and say, this is a lesson that I am still learning, is my rates. I know that I'm charging too low. I was having a softball game the other day and talking to a friend, and he works in IT for Epson. And he goes, how much do you charge an hour? And I told him that, and he shook his head at me. And I knew exactly what he was thinking. He goes, "You charge too much. You don't charge enough. Like, for everything you do." I mean, he works for Epson and does what I do and makes more money. So, but in that situation, so now I'm working too much. I'm not charging enough. How am I supposed to hire somebody if I can't pay them? Or even, so if I call out, any of you guys, if I say, "Hey guys, could you cover me for a week?" and you say, "Sure, here's my rate," and it's higher than I make, well, now I've just painted myself in a corner. Now my wife is mad at me, and I can't do anything about it. Because I can't leave because I can't hire anybody else because because when you go on vacation, some people will say, "Well, I'm just going to count a loss," and other people still say, "If I hire somebody, I still have to make money because that's a business. I still have to eat too."
Right.
So.
But what I've done, Obando, is there are times where I do have 2 techs that can cover for me when I'm out, and I actually have an agreement with them, and we worked out a rate. It's less than their rate, but they're helping me, and then when it comes time for me to help them, I lower my rate so that it works for them. Now, there have been times also where I just treat it as a wash, because it doesn't matter to me to make money. I just need to have the customer serviced while I'm gone. So there have been times where I'll just, whatever that person has to charge me, I'll either charge that to the customer and just let them know, "Look, this is what I had to pay the tech." Most of my customers understand that. There's been 1 or 2 times where I have eaten the cost, but to keep the customer, and not fight over a few dollars, I'll do that.
And that's part of the, and that's one of the other lessons to learn in starting this business is think long term. Don't always think next, because you may have to do a wash in 1 month, but that's because you've kept the customer, and now years down the road, that customer is one of your most valued customers.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just so you know, Martin, in terms of years in the business, I'm almost 20 years. I think John's 20 years. I've had customers still today. I mean, I think I told one on a show about a month ago, I have a customer that is telling me that I'm charging not enough. And I raised her to my highest rate when she said that. And she still says that's not enough because she knows,
None of my customers say that.
Well, this is a unique situation, but I mean, they will tell you if you're not charging enough and they think that you're doing a good job and you're covering them, and in this case, they're actually not my full-time customer. They're actually serviced by another customer out of state. This is a branch office for them, so I support the branch office. And she knows what they charge back at the corporate office, and she's like, "You need to charge this. And don't worry about being paid because, we'll make sure it gets paid." So, I mean, I charge that particular customer more than I charge anybody else just because they tell me I can and they think I do a good job, and
And I think that's really what it comes down to is that if you're doing a good job for the customer and they want to be taken care of and they like you, which obviously people like you, Martin, because you do a good job. Sometimes if I look at it this way. I mean, you could do a couple things from that standpoint. You could raise your rates on, customers going forward. Or, you could, by weeding out some of those customers, you could actually go, "You know what? When somebody calls, hey, our computer crashed and we got to get this taken care of. Yeah, I'll get back to you in about 48 hours and we'll get that taken care of." If you start making the ones that really are taking care of you the priority versus other ones, that's going to kind of change the game a little bit there too. So
yeah,
but
yeah. Well, if you have price-sensitive customers, just sneak it up a little bit. Just start raising it slowly.
Right.
The other thing that I do is I have another trusted tech here in town, so I hate the word trade. I don't trade anything in my business, but we trade hours. So we don't even really keep track, but he's gone, I cover for him, put out the fires, just enough. You're just putting the fire out enough so that it's smoldering so you can take care of it when you get home, really. Or I do the same for him, he does that for me. It's just understood. Yeah. So if you can find somebody else in your neck of the wood that's willing to do that for you, that's a great, obviously they got to be trusted because you're going to be in his backyard and he's going to be in yours, but.
Right. Yeah. Well, and just for clarification, as far as the company goes, I've been on my own running Obando Computing full time for 4 years. I've been in computers since the late '90s. Like so it's just want to make sure that people didn't think. No, you've only been around for 4 years.
Exactly where we've been. I mean, if you've been in for 4 years, you're doing something right. Because normally, what do you say, Jeff? 8 months? People
About 8 months
down.
is on average 8 months. Computer companies do not last for more than 8 months, especially when they're charging like rock bottom rates. Which
So
again,
you're doing something right, Bando.
Yeah,
You're doing something
You're
right.
around.
No doubt.
Yeah, Ed's not sleeping.
Yeah, you and me both.
I like the idea of, creeping it up a little bit. Now, again, like you said earlier, for residential customers, it's a little bit different. I moved my virus removals and my flat rate fees up, considerably, almost doubled actually, from what I was doing. And yeah, there's a couple people that, when they would see me once or twice a year, they kind of balked a little bit. But it was like, if you want to find somebody else that's going to do that, listen, that's great. And when they reformat your computer and all your pictures are gone from the last 10 years, then you'll know. Because I'm not that guy. Because I'm the guy that's pulling the drive out, making an image, backing up your documents, backing up your pictures before I, sit here and really grind on this computer to make sure that it's going to get back to working order. I want to make sure that stuff is protected as best I can. And there's a lot of people out there that they're not going to do that. You take it to a Best Buy or something. What's the one thing that they ask you to check on there? Do you have your backups? And you're going to sign on that document. You check, no, I don't have my backups, or yes, I do have my backups. They don't care. Because what they're going to do is they're going to do a nuke and pave 100% of the time, and that's it. So, I look at it from that standpoint too. How much personal care am I giving the customer? And is it worth it to them to pay a little bit more money? If you don't want to pay me my flat rate for virus removal is $89. It's still, if you bring it to me, which is still dirt cheap, even in this area for the industry. And I'm charging, I charge $80 an hour on site, and there's a $40 trip charge for the trip, but and I don't travel any more than 6 miles. But that's just me. But they understand that, so you get them for the first hour, and then if I'm there, and I charge in 15-minute increments, and everybody seems to be happy with it. So far, I've been getting calls from different businesses. I've been going out there, taking care of their problems, and I send them an invoice, and they don't even balk at the invoice, and I'm like going, because really, to be honest, to me, I still look at my prices and I go, it's still really a good deal. I don't care what anybody says. I know there's other people charging a lot more than I am. And this is still really a good deal, and it was worth my time to be able to do it for that amount of money. Because a lot of people, what they don't figure out in this business is that there are costs when you're doing business. Okay, now whether you use Google AdWords or Yelp or the Yellow Pages, God forbid, any of these types of things out there that you're paying for, you print your business cards, you print postcards, you print, your invoices, you spend money on your ink, your paper. Nobody counts. And I'm saying nobody because I don't count all those costs. Even though I write them off, I still don't really look at them and go, what is my cost per customer? What am I spending overall for every single customer? And I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people in the industry that unfortunately, if they actually did the math, and they would cry because they would be making literally a McDonald's wage and going, what's going on, Because you can't look at, the gross is one thing and the net is a totally different thing. And a lot of people don't see the difference between the two. So it's definitely something that I say, and somebody told me this, I had never counted my costs on Google AdWords. And somebody told me to do that, and they're like going, have you ever counted the costs? And I'm like going, no, not really. I kind of estimated. I was wrong. I was way wrong. I looked at it and I go, oh yeah, my Google AdWords, yeah, it's costing me about $5 per customer. No, it's just the stupid math I did in my head. When I actually sat down over the last 3 years, counted my numbers, figured out how many new customers came in, what my cost per getting a new customer was from Google AdWords, I was at about $20 residential customer, or $20 customer, I guess, overall.
Is the ice cream man coming to somebody?
Yeah, who's got the...
Have you not listened to Geeksters in the last many years? Every time I go on a podcast, that person shows up.
Get us a peanut butter brittle, why don't you?
Oh, there you go.
Okay, I'll be there.
I want a rocket popsicle.
Rocket pop.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jeff.
Yep, rocket pop. No, that's funny. I barely heard that.
Sandwich.
Anybody else? Anybody in the chat room? Would you like anything? I'll go stop out there.
Taco.
I know they have that. Documentation is another thing. That's
Absolutely.
one of the things that I haven't done. Is that I go out on site, and then you come home and you're like, okay, I spent an hour and a half on site. Great. And then you come home and you spent the next 45 minutes writing up your documentation. Are you charging for that? That's a part of the time. And those are things that I need to remember to do as well. And because it's the little things that you forget. Oh, well, I'm answering email, I'm writing up documentation, I'm, catching up on, Mr. Robot and all this other things, and then you get done and you realize, oh wait, I didn't charge for the little things that I have to do that go along with that as well. So
right.
That's
what are you guys using for documentation? You use anything specific?
My documentation for me, again, is I use Repair Shopper is where all my stuff goes. I use it for my marketing. I use it for my tickets, my invoices, everything is all in one pretty much. Because I used to do everything manually with Word documents, and that was horrible. I'm saying horrible. It's terrible. I couldn't stand it.
I started using a product called monkeybox.com about a year ago for all my documentation, and it covers everything. First, I thought it was a little ridiculous because it's not exactly cheap, but it has saved me so many times. It made my life so much easier. I would probably, don't tell anybody, I'd probably pay more. So
now, what type of documentation are you talking about, John?
Documents everything. I document like all my VPN settings, all my domain settings, all the licenses for a customer, all activation codes, like router settings, and I even allows you there to, like, when I do a config backup for a router, I upload it to there, so it's there in case the config or my smart switches or anything like that. All my configs are saved up into there, so in case, I don't know, a smart switch resets, I don't have to manually reset it back up. The other cool thing that I can do is I can allow customer access, so I can have somebody from that company have access to just their client information on the Monkey Box, so they can be in there updating it and doing all that. So
nice. Okay.
That is, yeah.
So I have documents that, it's Google Docs, but I have
that's what I
documents
did before Monkey Box.
But I've got every one of my clients, I've got a document, and then I will give, I will send them a copy of that PDF with all their information. When they need it or if they ask for it. So that's, and it gets backed up. Not just to Google, but I have another product that backs it up offsite as well. So
yeah, documentation is definitely important. In Matt Rainey's got a great document page that you can, basically fill out for, especially your business customers doing router settings and, proxies and, IPs and all that kind of stuff. Anything that you're doing in a business, or even for residential. How many times have you gone into a residential customer? We've said this before, and they go, "Hey, what's your password for your router?" I don't know. And you grab the router and you go, "There's no number on the bottom. There's no password. You're like going, seriously? Well, I think it might be this one. I think they gave, no, they might come with a little Post-it note and they go, I think this is what the guy wrote down, and you're like, so you have two choices if you can't figure it out. Okay. I guess we're getting a pin out and hard resetting this thing, and now I got to set it up and make sure I document it and give it to you, and then keep a copy so I, have those, copies available. So if I've got to do this again, I can, help you out in that respect. And I started using Repair Shopper's note area in Repair Shopper for keeping all my notes for each customer, and that has helped because I've had machines that brought back in, and I go in like hard drives have died, but I've already done something on their computer, and I go, oh, hey, here's the Microsoft Office key that I backed up last time. Ooh, okay. Now when I go to buy a new hard drive, I reinstall the system, I put that all back in there. So documentation is huge.
And the customer just does not understand the value of that.
No, they don't. And again, it's okay, so it's we're paid for the things we've learned, not necessarily for what we do. We're paid for what we know.
School of Hard Knocks. Yeah.
Exactly, and sometimes those are kind of a better way to go because we know what doesn't work. And I'll be honest with you, I still use an Excel spreadsheet for my books, and one day I'll get on QuickBooks, but until that day happens, I'm still able to manually do it. Which every Friday when I do it, I want to stick a fork in my eye because it sucks. But
you should switch to Mondays.
Switch it to Mondays. Then I'll
totally different.
Then I want to stick a spoon in my eye.
Well,
okay. Anyways, all right. Well, I think we've beat this one to death, and I think we've gotten a lot of good information out there. Why in the world do you want to start your own computer repair business? I think there's a lot of perks, and I think there's a learning curve, and I think these guys have said it just right, is it is a long-term game. And, you know, look at it like that. This is not a get-rich-quick. No, nothing you do in life is a get-rich-quick. You've got to take this a day at a time.
Right. I don't know if I would be right to say it's the most rewarding worst job you'll ever have.
There you go.
I can agree with that.
You know, and here's the thing. Okay, so here's what irritates me. Okay, I'm going to go on another tangent. So if you're in this business, yeah, we're almost done. If you're in this business and you've been doing something for the last 10, 15, 20 years, I don't care how long, and you don't want to learn anything new and you're just going to keep doing it the way you've been doing it, get out. Just leave and go home. Because I can imagine that if you're not wanting to make your business better, you're probably beating your head against the wall and going home every night with a headache. And I just don't understand why anybody would put themselves through that type of abuse, personally. And the reason I say that is because I was a guy beating my head against the wall. And I get tired of it. I'm like, no, I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to always be teachable. I'm going to always be able to adapt and do the things that I need to do in my business to make it better. Some things will work, some things won't. It's just the way it is. But don't be afraid to try new things, please. That'll help you so much, and it'll free your mind. And you go, not everything's a win. You know, there might be some. You know, you might lose some things, but just as long as you can learn from it, I don't count it as a loss. I count it as a lesson. Pure and simple. All right. With that being said, Marvin, where can people find you at?
Right there at the bottom of the screen, my 85% working new website, mbsystems.net.
Very pretty.
Awesome. All right, and Mr. Obando,
yes,
where can people find what you're up to?
ObandoComputing.com. You can also check me out. We are on Geeksters on the Podnutz Network. So that comes out. We just released a Geeksters episode of just me. So if you like to just hear the soothing sound of my voice, check out episode 171. If not, go 169 and then skip 170 because that's just me. And then move on and you can hear Tim and Mitch and we're going to get together. It's a show about tech. We just have a great time talking about what it's like to be a life in the tech. So if you listen to us here in this podcast about what does it take to run a business? Well, what are some of the daily struggles that we run into? That's where Tim and Mitch and I just sit around and oh my gosh, I think we have more fun than we should on that show. And yeah, ObandoComputing.com is where I'm at. If you want to follow me on Google+, it's MObando.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it.
And I'm not giving out my phone number. I can give you John's phone number, though. I got his business card right here if anybody wants to know.
All right, Mr. Dubinsky, where can people find what you're up to?
Mavengroup.net or somewhere on G+ would be great.
Okay.
Just somewhere?
Somewhere on G. Just look up, well, how many Dubinskys can actually be on G+? Seriously.
I don't know. Let's find out.
1 minute.
Yeah. All right. Reminder, Jetpack Live is Monday, October 5th at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Learn real ways to grow your IT business. You can check it out over at itjetpack.com. Hey, come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/live. Join in on the conversation by calling in live or hanging out in the chat room. We have audio available over at podnutz.com or subscribe using your favorite podcatcher. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Computer Repair Podcast. You can email questions and feedback, and please do to podnutz@podnutz.com. Or you can leave a voicemail at 1-888-697-0162. You guys can also support this show like we talked about earlier by going to patreon.com/Computer Repair Podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast. Okay, Chris is not here. Oh.
So, John, I got this thing to work.
Yeah. Oh, you did. I saw that earlier. Good reminder. Great.
Yeah, it just.
How do you like it?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's actually it can get a little annoying because it vibrates all the time. So, but it's cool though. It vibrates when you get a phone, and you can can sync apps to it. So if I get a text, it'll vibrate. If I get an email, it'll vibrate. But it doesn't tell you why. And then randomly it vibrates, and I'm like, what? Oh, no, I don't know. It just decided to vibrate. But as far as sleeping patterns and walking and stuff like that, it's actually, there you go. That's, it's like in my nightmares. It actually it works really well. I'm actually impressed with the simplicity of it. So this is the
you can't
me
beat
that
it for $15 or whatever.
I know. This is the me that he gave me in that we got suckered into that talk. Remember downstairs the
John
broker.
Yeah, that was my. I'm sorry I invited you to this talk.
yeah.
I'm glad you came.
Yeah. So it works pretty well. I like it. So I've had it on for probably a month now, and no problems. And you charge it like once a month.
Yeah,
I had a Fitbit.
That's why I'm wearing a Pebble, because I charge it once a week, and all I use my Pebble for is notifications too.
Yeah.
So
it blinks. So there's 3 of the dots, and it blinks, and it tells you what it does. But I don't really know what the dots are. It vibrates for alarms, and you tap it to turn it off. The vibration, like any of the wearable things, it doesn't wake me up. It's just it's not enough vibration. Like if it was to actually wake me up, it would need to be like, it's a soft little soothing vibration, and I'm like. But
you know what's funny is I turned all the notifications off on my phone, so I don't want anything attached to me that's going to give me any notifications. I'll check it when I'm darn good and ready.
Wow.
And that's right.
Well, I like it because, like I said, it's Bluetooth, and so it just tells me, oh, my phone's ringing. Like I can tell because what is that? Sorry, what? John. You like fuzzed out the back of him.
Yeah, he's playing around with the
he's playing with his effects.
John likes to play in something.
At least I didn't do it during the show this time.
You're still live,
pretty good.
Well, we're not recording though, right?
Oh, it's recording.
Oh, great.
Yeah. We're still on YouTube.
All right.
Have you guys speaking of effects? Any of you guys have Snapchat? I don't, but
I have a daughter that does.
Okay.
I was gonna say I'm not a 16-year-old girl, so no.
I know. Okay, so my 13-year-old daughter has Snapchat, and there's this effect of this rainbow one. Check it out. Just have her say, "I want to see the rainbow effect," and then have her you do it. It's
interesting.
I will do that as soon as we're done there tonight.
It's a little. It's freaky. I'm just gonna prepare it. But she says, "Hey, do this, Dad," and I did it. And then she put her phone in front of me, and I was like,
Okay.
So I'll just be.
So there is one positive from Snapchat, is what you're saying.
I don't know.
Okay.
I just don't have time for all. I mean, there's people that use it. Actually, there's people in media that use it, and it's one of those things where I love to communicate with people, but it's just, we have so many social media outlets. I don't know how people keep up.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't need one more to check.
I've got my Twitter, my Facebook, my Google Plus, and LinkedIn, and that's about. I mean, even that's hard to keep up with.
I don't even do all that. I just follow Obando on G+.
Hey, there's nothing more you need to do. That's it.
There you go. Yeah, he's always got. He loves to put out posts about good information.
Well, it'll be, and I'm pretty sporadic. So some days you'll get nothing, and other days you get like 12 in a row.
But that's good because when you find stuff that's relevant for people that might actually care about stuff like that, you put it out, and it's like, oh yeah, you either, hey, that's cool, you pass it on, or you go, let's talk about Linux again. That's off there, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the next airport carpet picture.
Yeah, I gotta fly somewhere first. I don't know. Hey, well, the little hometown that I grew up in, they have a plane now that goes between here and there. It's about $330 round trip, but it costs my client $330 for me to drive down there, and it's a 12-hour round trip, and it's a 4-hour round trip plane ride. So it's about an hour and a half there, hour and a half back home. So next time I may fly just because.
Yeah, but then you can charge the full day rate.
Yeah.
Charge for the entire day.
Well, what I'm thinking is that I could fly down early in the morning, get there, do the job, and then come home that same day.
There you go.
Okay.
That's a lot of driving. I'm with you there.
Well, I've done it. I've left here at 2 a.m., driven down there, fixed the job, and then been home by 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
And you charge double the rate, right?
Well, I charge him my time and then the driving time. So I said, I charge him per mile, and so. I say, yeah, I can come down and fix that, and I've actually driven down, fixed a router loop, because the guy had both ends plugged into the router, and then fixed it. Said, "You guys good? Yeah, everything. Internet's been restored. Thanks." And I drove back home. I'm like, well, there you go. Thanks.
Nice.
And that's why you get the big bucks.
That's why I get the big bucks. One thing I wanted to mention on the show that I didn't get a chance to, because Marvin was talking, not Marvin, but John was just talking way too much. Was the fact that SEO. So people ask me how I did SEO, and I haven't done anything with my webpage to do that any kind of SEO optimization. But one of the things that inadvertently happened because of this is that if you were to do any kind of remote control with me, remote connection with me, I have you go to my webpage and click on the remote support, and that takes you over to Screen Connect. In an iframe within my webpage. So every time I've had all of these different people going to my webpage because I do remote support for them, and just over the years of constantly doing that, my SEO has increased.
Well, you know what's funny is under certain keywords, like I said, I've had my Google AdWords has been turned off, and under certain keywords like computer repair near me, I come up number 1. And I'm telling you, I've done nothing SEO related. I just do good kind, and quite honestly, I could do more. I could actually put blog posts out there, which would make it more relevant for more keywords. But it doesn't. You know what? My whole business revolves around computer repair of some form or fashion. So whether I have the keywords of virus removal and all this stuff, it doesn't matter. If people's stuff is broken or it's not working correctly, and it's a computer or electronic device, what they do, they call somebody that can fix it. Period. So a lot of people get, I'm experimenting with Google AdWords now just because I didn't realize I had 586 keywords in there, and I just got it down to 436. So yeah, I had a lot in there that I was just like, what is this doing? Things like e-machines, or the triple E, what were the little netbooks?
EEPC,
yeah,
or
EEPC. I'm like going, why? Because I've fixed a couple of those, and I don't want to do it again. I'm like, you know what? Go buy another one. They don't even sell those anymore, do they?
No. Because it used to be a 1-to-1, right?
Does anybody have a netbook anymore? Even?
I not really.
Right.
Either go to a lot of people are going to the smaller laptops.
No, that's a notebook.
That's a netbook.
Oh yeah.
That's a little Acer. Is anybody actually selling them anymore? Any manufacturers actually selling them anymore?
I don't know.
You can get a Chromebook for this for cheaper.
Sure,
Right.
somebody is.
Yeah.
But Chromebooks are about the size of a laptop, aren't they? Or no?
There's all different sizes.
Is there? Okay.
I think they've got 13s and 10s.
It's a 13.
Gotcha. Ooh, Samsung.
Well, it's from the school, and the reason because I said, hey, we're doing a lot of filtering, and I need I need to be able to test it when I'm not on site, because on site's something different. And so they said, yeah, we'll get you a Chromebook. And they said this came in, and one of the kids was like, it's missing a 3 key. And
nice.
So they said, hey, Martin, do you want to use this as your tech one? I'm like, sure. So now I can test filtering externally, because we can lock it. There's some things we can lock it down in the Chromebook. But
now you should be able to call. You should be able. Those are brand new, right? You should be able to call up and get them to send you a 3 key.
I don't know. It probably costs more than $3.
Probably, but go to keyreplacement.com. With shipping, it's about $11. So
Free key, but it's $15.
Yeah.
Shipping and handling.
It is the hinge that it turned on, but it kind of has the hinges that come up the back.
Yep.
It would work. I could do it, but it doesn't.
Oh
really
yeah, I do them periodically. I've replaced them on several laptops over the years. Just there's nothing wrong with the keyboard, but they're missing keys for whatever reason, or the hinges are broke, or a lot of the keys that I buy, they actually have the hinges already put in them. You literally, after you pull everything off the keyboard, you just basically put it on there either on a 45-degree angle, right to left, or straight up and down, and it pretty much pops into place. So
yeah, I don't know what happened to it. I could do it, but they were allowed to give me one so I could take it home. So it's all right. I'll take it home. It's not mine, but.
Yeah, well, let us know how it works out as far as the being able to block stuff, on the home network.
Paper, I can block it down.
Guys, I gotta let you go. You guys have a great night.
Yep, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the feed, I think. And yes, it's been a great show, good long show, and appreciate everybody out there. And we will see you next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great week.
All right. That was awesome. Marvin and I, same thing. Bam.